Welcome back to this renowned motocross facility, the one and only Glen Helen, San Bernardino, California. It is the 40th anniversary of the Dubya World Vet Motocross Championship. Jack Korpela and Mark Tilley here with you, and we are set for what should be a thriller here, the 50-plus Pros Moto #2, where the question is, can anybody stop the man who many consider the greatest vet of all time, Mike Brown?
Yeah, Mike Brown is on it today. Like he's I think total in the weekend he's racing 5 different classes or something like that, and some 125 races, some 450 races, the 40 Pro, the 30 Pro. He's doing just about anything that you could do. Lori actually had to sign him up for one of his extra classes because he signed up for as many classes they'll let you do online. So, and here they go.
Here we go, guys. Gate is down. Who will get the whole shot? Keep an eye on the #3, the Dirt Bike Magazine machine. He is out front. Mike Brown with a commanding whole shot. That is bad news for the rest of the field. Followed closely, I believe, Kurt Nicole in that mix as well. Whoa, trying to make up some big ground. If you're going to stop Brown, now is the time. You got to get him on this first lap. You can't let him drift too far away.
Yeah, no. If you don't attack him early and attack him hard, you're not going to get him. And he's out front. They're not going to be able to get him. Like, there's no way. You do have some heavy hitters in here with Kurt Nicole, former world champion. But, man, Mike Brown, he's in shape.ที่the one that makes sure that the whole Triumph motocross race team is in shape and ready to go. So, you know he's with them right now. The one thing that that can jump up and bite you is right at the top of this hill right here. The sun had come out a couple minutes ago, and you can't see as soon as you get to the top of that hill. This track is rough right now.
Wow, and these riders contending with that, and Mike obviously has the fitness to deal with it. It was funny, last year I was in Daytona, and speaking of Triumph, Ricky Carmichael was on a Triumph, and I asked Ricky one question. I said, you're the GOAT, but they say Mike Brown's the greatest vet of all time. Do you have anything for him? He said, absolutely not. Mike Brown is the man.
Yeah, and when you look at that, Mike Brown's the current vet, the GOAT, current vet GOAT, but Doug Dubach, who is getting an award at the Edison Dye Award at this event, he has won this event more than anybody, and not like just a couple more than anybody. He has won this event like 27 or 28 times. I was lucky enough to be able to work for Doug for about 3 or 4 years, and except for the years that he was hurt, we were here racing, and he was racing kind of like Mike Brown. He was racing as many classes as possible.
Well, big congratulations to Doug, because he's certainly a deserved recipient of the Edison Dye Award. What a prestigious honor for him. And talking about a prestigious honor, how about this man just checking out? It appears this moto, unless he makes a mistake, you never know, because as Mark told you, this track is very, very rough. But right now, Mike Brown really in command of this one.
So now how you see the sun come in, everywhere you see the sun, it's just blinding. Like, especially this time of day, the shadows here are really hard to read. And especially for us older guys, our eyes might not adjust as fast. But right there, it goes from dark to light, dark to light a couple times. And that's really hard on the eyes. So, but Mike Brown, he actually showed up on Thursday to my house. Thursday to my house at about noon. And him and Milt, the owner of FXR, built their own bikes in my shop. It was actually kind of cool. And I mean, that's an FXR backed bike, but it's one of our test bikes that I'm just letting him borrow for the weekend. So WP gave us some suspension, and then Pro Circuit gave us an exhaust for it, and he's basically going out there and riding it the way that it comes. I think he changed to some Pro Taper bars and stuff like that, but other than that, Throttle Syndicate made it all look good with the graphics, and he's going for it. So he's got that in a 150.
Good Lord, look at this lead. And yeah, how awesome are your garage parties? Who else is on your Rolodex? Mark Tilley hanging out?
I will admit that even now I'm starstruck by Brown. So it's definitely a cool thing. So, and then you got Rusty Holland up there on the Cowie. Rusty, a former national pro rider from back in the day, and I think that's Kurt Nicole right behind him. And Kurt's a former world champion. Looks like he's going to make the pass on Rusty.
Yeah. Also in that mix, keep an eye on Julian Cerny out of Canada, the 117. doing a great job. So Brown is pretty much out of here, checked out, but Julian Cerny, Kurt Nicole, Brian Wheeler, all putting a great battle together. We'll see what happens behind him.
Yeah, Rusty used to do a lot of arena cross and a lot of supercross back in the day from Northern California. So he's got sons that ride and all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, this is, like I said, it's all of that area right there is dark, and then you get into some light patches, and it makes it really tough because all the jumps are cupped out. Like you can see those guys kind of wheeling into the tops of those. It's because there's a big hole right there.
So, Mark, a question I have for you here, because you did such a great job out on this track. We know Father Time does, unfortunately, catch up with everybody. As you hit 50, what is the biggest change? I know a lot of boxers, a lot of fighters, they'll say that as they got older, they have to train smarter, not necessarily harder. They have to be more efficient. How has your training changed vis-a-vis when you were 25 years old?
My thing right now is just trying to stay ahead of the kids. Ahead of my kids. My son Jacob is on a 125 now, and I got to push it to stay in front of him. So, and I think that a lot of it is just life stuff on whether or not you want to go that fast anymore. I mean, they all have the skill, but they don't all go as fast. And Julian looks like he's out there, and he's on a 2-stroke. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, that's kind of, and then vision goes. So vision definitely goes to where you kind of gotta slow down. You're kind of forced to slow down, and if you're not on the bike all the time, it definitely takes its toll.
Well, we're looking at a great battle right here. Julian Cerny out of Canada trying to hold out the former world champion Kurt Nicole. Look at this, nose to tail. A great battle that we're seeing here.
And Kurt has the Champ Factory. That they rent motorcycles for guys that come in, and he does some training with them and stuff like that. So I think he's got a bunch of KTMs, and I think he still actually does testing for KTM and WP. So he's spent a lot of time on this track, but Julian showing him the fast way around the track.
Julian able to pull away just a little bit in that section. Kurt seems to excel on this part of the track. Keep an eye on that number 2 KTM closing in. He's still got some time. It'll be about 15 minutes plus 1, we believe, for this moto as Mike Brown continues to extend his lead. This is the 50-plus Pro Moto number 2. Brown trying to put together an overall. Right now, these guys fighting for every position possible. What a great battle. What a great USA versus Canada battle. And we've been seeing these international battles all weekend long here at Glen Helen.
Yeah, I don't know where Kurt's originally from. I know he does stay in the United States right now, but he's from somewhere over in Europe. So we got Canada, Europe, and we got the U.S. down, and then you got Mike Brown out front. Mike's kind of just checked out on these guys, but it's still good racing. So you see Mike coming back the other way.
Very cool. And you bring up a good point, because I learned with the World Cup here, at least 2 of the riders have to originally be from that country. Some of them like to claim it depending on where they live or where they make their residence now, but at least 2 of them have to have been born in that country.
Yeah, and if they're not, they get like a 5-point penalty or something like that. So it's definitely, and maybe that's why Lepinovich isn't riding it anymore, because he doesn't live in Guam anymore and couldn't really get very many people from Guam. So that might be why Guam has opted out after winning a few years in a row. But so I believe Kurt got second in Moto number 1. So, and I think Rusty Holland got third. So Julian might be in there just kind of spoiling up some of the results. But that it's kind of nice coming back. You could see them on these boys in drone footage. You can see them coming back from the other side of the track, and he got around him.
Nicole gets around him.
Veteran move right there. Went around the outside.
For the man who now makes his residence in Temecula, California, he has a lot of experience on this racetrack. The number 2 out in front. But for how long? We talked to Julian earlier on, and he's certainly not giving anything up. Came all the way from Calgary, Alberta to compete this weekend. Fitness appears to be on point. Mark, what do you think? Is the 117 fading, or just a little gamesmanship out here?
I don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to get back around Kurt, but we got got a lot. He's got a charger on him with Rusty right behind him, and Rusty's not afraid to throw some elbows in there. He's a smaller guy, and Julian is a bigger guy, but he's not afraid to throw some elbows and get that Kawasaki into the third position, because I think that would mean that he gets on the podium.
So we believe they'll get about 6 laps in. We have 3 down. We are halfway home. Mike Brown is in a different zip code right now. I think he's trying to get back to Tennessee. We'll take a look at the battle for... This is the battle for third place right now, as who is hot on the heels of Julian on the Kawasaki.
That's Rusty. That's Rusty Holland.
Yeah, that is Rusty Holland moving up quickly.
Well, and I know that if those guys decided to make this race a little bit shorter, these guys wouldn't mind right about now.
Something that I found interesting, too, is I stepped outside and was watching a few of the motos during the break. They had to stop one of the races when there was a log jam coming up the hill. Somebody crashed coming up the hill, and then that was a domino effect. There were like 10 bikes down on the hill, and guys, it's so steep up there, guys weren't able to pass.
Yeah, well,
and then they were falling off their bikes.
You look at this boys in drone footage. If we were right behind the bikes, look at how Rusty's bike is dancing around going up the hill. Like, it's rough. It's really rough right now. And then with the shadows and with the others, throw some other stuff in there, and a guy down on the ground, and yeah, that hill is a lot steeper than it looks. So, and it's loose dirt right now because we've had the moisture in the day all day long with the overcast skies. So yeah, we were looking at those pictures, and I was going, oh, how can they do that? And then now being out there, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's easy.
And there is your leader, ladies and gentlemen, the indomitable vet rider, perhaps the greatest vet rider of all time, the number 3 of Mr. Mike Brown. What a weekend he is having here, trying to take as many trophies, as many plaques, and as much cash as he can back to Bristol, Tennessee.
Yeah, well, and look at it. He's in his mid-50s, and he's racing 30 classes and 40 classes and 50 classes. So you kind of look at it, and you got to hand it to the guy. It's impressive no matter who you are, even if you don't like him. It's impressive that he's able to go out there and run with guys 20 years younger than him.
Well, I'm going to show my age, but, every time I see him, a piece of my childhood is tied to him. I was there at Steel City 2001. I will never forget one of the most memorable races of all time. A man who doesn't live far from here, Grant Langston, who, by the way, his Mako is out in the pits right now. Gosh, a devastating race for Grant. He was leading in Steel City, ready to win a championship. A wheel came apart. You remember that one, Mark Tilley?
I actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually rode for KTM at the same time.
Oh.
And I was a local pro, nowhere close to those speeds. And I went to Redbud and blew out 3 rear wheels coming off one of the triples, and there was a wheel problem. So it was devastating. I remember that year, same thing, going, oh man, that sucks for him, because he was on it.
As we take a good look here at the battle for third, heating up, action all around the racetrack. But yeah, it was great to connect with Grant years later, because now he can kind of laugh about it. At the time, he couldn't laugh about it. He was absolutely devastated, but what a moment it was for Mike Brown. And that race was famous, too, because he actually waved Carmichael around, and then Carmichael got the 125, Mark Burnett's win streak in that race. So it was very, very famous.
Well, it looks like Rusty got around Julian, and he was setting his sights on Kurt Nicole. This race isn't over with yet. Brown might be out front, but the boys in drone footage is showing us that Rusty's looking for Kurt. Kurt just crested the top of the hill, and Rusty is right on his tail.
Prime conditions here in the late stages of this race, and let's be honest, we have complimented the fitness, we have complimented how hard these racers train, but they are plus 50, and that famous line, fatigue can make cowards of us all. If anybody's got arm pump, it's been a long day, it's been a long weekend, and we are in the latter stages of this moto. Anything can happen. I don't think you're going to see Brownie fade. He looks like he's in good shape, but perhaps second, third, and fourth, perhaps battling some fatigue right now.
Yeah, and that's Rusty going, chasing down. Kurt pulled out a little bit, and Rusty pulled him right back in. So,
and the white flag is waving, I'm being told. White flag is out, ladies and gentlemen. This will be our final lap. Mike Brown trying to bring it home. Kurt Nicole Rusty Holland and Julian Cerny
Yeah, that's
battling for this podium spot.
Yeah, that right there, I believe they finished that way in Moto number 1. So if Rusty's able to get around Kurt, he should get second overall. And he's all over him.
Yes, he is. We'll bring it home. Just a few more turns to go here at beautiful, historic, iconic Glen Helen. Prep to perfection this weekend. I'm told over 1,200 riders, 20 different countries. Can you believe it's the 40th year as Mike Brown makes his way through lap traffic?
Brownie, last couple turns.
He looks like he's just getting warmed up out there. Come on, 50.
Yeah,
you said 52, 55?
I think he's mid-50s.
Oh,
so there he goes. He should be taking the checkered flag right about now.
Perhaps the greatest vet of all time, Mike Brown, takes the checkered flag. Congratulations. He gets the win here in the 50-plus pro category. Well-deserved, a hard-fought victory. There you go, kids. Never give up. Never stop training. Second will be Kurt Nicole, really battled up. Congratulations to him for the rider out of Temecula, California. Rusty Holland coming home third unofficially, and it looks like Julian hangs on with a fourth. Busy, busy weekend for a lot of these riders, and I'm just starting to wonder if a lot of these motos are starting to catch up. We will be back to sort it all out. Stay with us, guys. The World Vet Motocross Championship will be back right after this.